Hey everybody, AJ here, and today I want to talk about the 1983 film Cujo. There's Cujo right there. Uh, this is a film directed by Louis Teague, who, of course, is known for the 1980 creature feature called classic film Alligator, and it's based on Stephen King's novel. Now, I know from seeing a few interviews with Stephen King, he has said that of all the stuff that's been made from his work, Cujo is probably his favorite film. He really loves Dee Wallace's performance. He says that it's the best thing in any of his movies from his stuff, and I agree with that, and I'll get to that in a few minutes. The director, Louis Teague, has also said that he really loves this film as far as his work goes. It's his favorite. So the interesting thing about Cujo is that it's kind of two movies in one. On the surface, you have this monster movie, of course, with a dog that gets rabies and is terrorizing the people of Castle Rock, Maine. And it's a monster movie on the surface, but underneath that, it's a story about a family that's on the brink of destruction and things are falling apart. And so we have that story, which is also uh, an interesting part of the film. Now, the first half of the movie deals with Dee Wallace's character named Donna, who is a mother, and her husband is played by Daniel Hugh Kelly. His name's Vic, and they have a 6-year-old son named Tad, played by Danny Pintaro. Danny Pintaro's character Tad is very afraid of the dark, like a lot of 6-year-olds are. He's sure he has monsters inside of his closet. His dad is always trying to reassure him that, it's just in your head, monsters aren't real. And on the surface, we think that this is just an idyllic little family. It's everything seems to be good. They have a beautiful home. They just seem like a regular family. But then we learn through the story that Vic works a lot. He's always gone at his advertising executive job. He's never at home. Dee Wallace takes care of Danny Pintaro's character, Tad, all the time. And she's lonely, and she is having an affair with her husband Vic's best friend. We learn that she's having this affair. So Vic finds out about it. Of course, he's pissed. So he basically goes on a business trip, and he doesn't know what he's going to do when he leaves. He doesn't know if he's going to come back and be with her, if they're going to stay married. Is he going to get divorced? He doesn't know. He doesn't know what he wants to do. So he leaves and leaves Donna there to take care of Tad. And at that point, Donna has a piece of crap Pinto car that is breaking down. It barely runs anymore. So while her husband's gone, she takes the car along with Tad out to a mechanic in town to have him fix the car. Little does she know, the mechanic's son's dog, Cujo, has been bitten by a bat and has rabies and is just gone insane. He's gone crazy. He's killed the mechanic, and he now has her and Tad. They get out there, the car breaks down, it won't start again. Now they're trapped. No one's around. There's no one they can get a hold of. This is before cell phones, so she can't call anybody. And they're just trapped in this car with Cujo, this beast, outside of the car, terrorizing them. Danny Pintaro's character Tad is freaking out. He's spazzing out because he's been told this whole time by his parents that monsters aren't real. It's all in his head. And now, boom, here's a monster right there in front of him. So he's spazzing. And Donna is freaking out because Tad won't stop screaming about the dog, and at a certain point she snaps and starts yelling at him, which is in all reality very much like a parent would react, I think, in this stressful kind of situation. Now, what I want to talk about is The second half of the film is so bleak and so desperate, and so it's just seems completely hopeless. It's like, oh, what are they going to do? How are they going to get out of this? And Dee Wallace carries the film, the whole half of the film. It's all her. She's fantastic. She's just great in this sequence, and in the second half. And one of the things I find interesting about the second half of the film is the cinematography by Jan de Bont. Now, he went on to direct Speed and Twister. This sequence, the second half of the movie, could have become very repetitive, very boring, because it just takes place primarily in this Pinto and just involves these two characters and the dog. And it could have been done in a way that just got old real quick, but it's not. The cinematography, the camera work that they do here is always interesting and always makes this second half very exciting and suspenseful. There's a scene, I remember a scene in the second half of the film where the camera just starts to do this really slow kind of 360-degree turnaround, and it keeps going faster and faster and faster until it's totally spinning out of control, which is kind of like the situation they're in. It's out of control. It's beyond Dee Wallace's control. She cannot do anything to save them in this situation. It seems pretty hopeless. Also, there's another great scene at the beginning of the film where Tad is getting ready to go to bed, and he has to go from the light in his bedroom to his bed, and the camera shows like his bed is like so far away, which in my mind is, I remember being a kid and thinking, you know, when it was a dark room, that I had to go so far to get to where I was going, and how creepy it was. And I like that shot because it sort of puts us in the perspective of Tad and shows how he sees the world from his 6-year-old perspective, and it's really, really well done. And then when he switches the light off and does run to his bed, there's a great shot with the camera mounted on the ceiling, and it does like this 180-degree turn, but it's upside down. It's from the ceiling down, and it's really well done. The cinematography in this film is great. Also, the music in the film I want to talk about for a minute. It's written by Charles Bernstein, who you may remember from creating the iconic Nightmare on Elm Street score, and the music in this movie is perfect. When Cujo's around or something bad's going to happen, there's sort of this really ominous echoing effect on the music. It just works really well. And then at the beginning, when Cujo is chasing a rabbit and he gets bit by the bat, it's sort of this, when he's chasing the rabbit through the grass, it's the camera angles are from his point of view, and the music is like uplifting and happy, and it's just the music works really well. Now, the ending of the movie, the second half, is really important, because what it does is, the first half we set up the characters, we learn about the infidelity that Donna's doing, and we learn how, you know, upset Vic is and how things are going to fall apart with their marriage. But the second half, it takes this sort of devastatingly catastrophic situation with her in the car with Tad, with Cujo, to make Vic realize how much she and Tad mean to him, and how they need to stay together, and how sorry Donna is for what she did. So that sequence, as bleak as it is really important to finishing and connecting the stories together in this movie. And like I said, Cujo's a great movie. I really have always loved it since I was a kid. Now, the Blu-ray is really good. There's an audio commentary by Louis Teague on this. There's also a really excellent documentary called Dog Days, where you learn some interesting things. For example, interesting fact, the scenes in the car feel like they're sweltering hot, but it's actually, when they filmed those sequences, it's actually pretty cold outside, and they actually had to turn the heaters on in the Pinto because it was so cold out. Also, you get to learn a lot of things about the tricks they had to pull with the dogs. Some of the scenes, there was 5 dogs they used for the movie. One scene, a few scenes are done with a guy in a dog suit. There's also a mechanical dog head that they used. And the interesting, funny part is that they said that the goo, the slime that's all over Cujo all the time is actually made from egg whites and sugar, and they would mix this stuff up and pour it over the dogs. And they had to shoot the scenes as quick as they could because the dogs would just, by instinct, just start licking this stuff off and licking all the goo off, and they'd have to start all over with the makeup effects. So, like I said, great Blu-ray, great film, really a good movie, very suspenseful, very intense, and I love the monster part of it, the Cujo stuff, and I love the family dynamics, the story that ties things together, and it's just really well done. So if you've seen Cujo, let me know in the comments what you thought. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Let me know what you thought, and as always, everybody, I will see you again, and thank you very much. Bye.